In 2019, Jay-Z became rap's first billionaire, and since then, he's grown his net worth to over $1.3 billion. If you're under 25, you probably know Jay-Z as that rich rapper whose lyrics are filled with things that you can't afford, like artwork from Jean-Michel Basquiat and Andy Warhol and watches from Patek Philippe. But if you were born in my generation and listened to hip-hop throughout the late 90s and the early 2000s, then you know him as Brooklyn's voice, a voice of the people, a trendsetter who had us rocking jerseys and fitteds for years. And then when he decided to switch over to button-ups, well, we did too. He's the one that convinced us to spend hundreds of dollars on Cristal in the club while rocking S. Carters on our feet, complimented by some baggy-ass Roc-A jeans that we bought 3 sizes too big. He brought us classic album after classic album and even introduced us to some of the most talented artists in the game, from Philadelphia Freeway and Beanie Sigel to Kanye West. And he made the entire music industry switch from hard gangsta beats to soulful 70s samples with intricate drum lines driving the song underneath. And even at 52 years old, he still has our ears. On those rare occasions that Jay-Z steps off his $2 million per week yacht and actually drops a verse, well, we all tune in. But it's not just his lyrics that set him apart, because there are many rappers who can pull out metaphors and double entendres. I mean, that's kind of their job. But when he said, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman," well, few people knew just how true that statement really was. Because while the average rapper puts out a few albums, fizzles out, and lives the rest of their lives as a broke legend, Jay-Z became the richest rapper and one of the most successful businessmen in the world, with an estimated net worth of over $1.3 billion. And how did he do it? Well, he did it by making huge deals with brands across numerous industries, building and selling world-class startups, and investing in some of today's most game-changing technologies. In this video, we're gonna talk about how Jay-Z shifted from being just a legendary lyricist to one of today's most respected and successful billionaire entrepreneurs and investors. Sean Corey Carter was born on December 4th, 1969 in Brooklyn, New York, to businessman Adnis Reeves and Gloria Carter, who worked as a clerk for the New York City comptroller. From the beginning, his mother knew that he was special. She once spoke of Jay saying, "He was the last of my 4 children, the only one who didn't give me any pain when I gave birth to him. And that's how I knew he was a special child." Jay-Z grew up in Brooklyn's Marcy Projects, a drug-infested and crime-riddled housing project that consisted of 27 6-story buildings. The Marcy houses are located in New York's 79th precinct, where there were 71 murders in 1990 alone. Although Adnis Reeves, his father, was a fixture in his life at an early age, that would change around the time that Jay-Z turned 11. Several years before abandoning his family, Adnis's brother Ray was stabbed to death, and it drove Adnis insane. Sources say that he spent several years seeking revenge and would sometimes get up in the middle of the night to search for the killer. His fixation on revenge drove him towards alcohol addiction and eventually led him to abandon Jay-Z and his siblings. Jay-Z attended Eli Whitney High School, where he was classmates with the late and legendary Notorious B.I.G. And while he attended school regularly, growing up with guns, drugs, and violence at his doorstep had an impact on the young Jay-Z. Eventually, he turned to drug dealing as a way to escape poverty. However, the extent of his drug dealing is rather controversial. I mean, in his songs, he'd speak as if he was Nino Brown or Frank Lucas. However, a childhood friend from Marcy, DeHaven Irby, who is often attributed to teaching Jay-Z the rules of the streets, he kind of refute these statements. DeHaven will go on to say that Jay-Z did some nickel and diming, but ultimately appropriated DeHaven's story to big up his drug dealing career in his music. His drug dealing escapades with DeHaven really aren't important to this story, but there was another connection that he made in Marcy Projects that would allow him to build the foundation for his legendary hip-hop career, and that was the friendship that he held with Jonathan Burks, better known as Jaz-O. In 1986, the two rappers formed the group High Potent and released the single HP Gets Busy, although it had fairly little success. But then in 1989, Jaz-O secured a solo deal with EMI, and he kept Sean around as his hype man with the occasional feature. Jay-Z would join Jaz-O on several early singles, including Hawaiian Sophie and The Originators. Unfortunately, by the end of 1989, Jaz-O's deal was already starting to fizzle out, but young Jay-Z had already used the experience to learn about the rules of engagement in the hip-hop industry. Then he made another connection that would catapult his career forward. In 1994, Dame Dash was managing a hip-hop group called Future Sound, who was signed to Atlantic Records by DJ Clark Kent. Clark Kent told Dame that there was a drug dealer turned rapper that he had to meet. Dame was interested and Clark Kent set up a meet between the two of them. And with Jay-Z's lyrics, Dame Dash's business savvy, and capital from Kareem Burke, aka Biggs, Roc-A-Fella Records was born and is set to take over the world. The trio released Jay-Z's debut album, Reasonable Doubt, in 1996, which quickly went gold and eventually went platinum. For an indie label, going gold was a huge accomplishment, and soon major labels were calling. Def Jams purchased a 50% stake in Roc-A-Fella in 1997, leaving the three-man trio with 50% ownership of the company. Over the next several decades, Jay-Z would prove that he was a musical powerhouse, with albums like In My Lifetime Volume 1, which went platinum, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, which went 5 times platinum, Volume 3, The Life and Times of S. Carter, which went 3 times platinum, Dynasty and The Blueprint, both of which went 2 times platinum, The Blueprint 2 and The Black Album, both of which went 3 times platinum, Kingdom Come, which went 2 times platinum, American Gangster and The Blueprint 3, which both went platinum, Magna Carta Holy Grail, which went 2 times platinum, and 444, which went platinum. But he didn't only make hundreds of millions of dollars on his own music, he also made hundreds of millions by creating other stars through Roc-A-Fella, like Freeway, Beanie Siegel, Cameron, Jim Jones, and none other than Kanye West, who now has 7 platinum albums all of his own. So that's where it started, with the music. But the next move was brilliant. It was at this point that he started leveraging his popularity, his likeness, and business savvy to quickly increase his net worth. First, it started with Rocawear. At the time, few retailers carried urban clothes. Brands like FUBU, Tommy Hilfiger, and Girbaud were popular across the culture, and Jay-Z and Damon Dash knew exactly what it was that the streets wanted. They secured capital from several investors and then launched Rocawear in 1999. They used their influence on hip-hop culture to promote Rocawear's different product lines. In 2000, they signed a deal with Midway Games and PlayStation to design the clothing for a character named Afro Thunder in the game Ready to Rumble. Then in 2002, they put out the movie State Property and branded all the characters with Rocawear clothing. By 2005, Rocawear had created more than $700 million in sales. By intermingling Rocawear with their music and television projects, they ingrained the fashion brand into the hip-hop culture for years to come. After falling out with each other, Jay-Z and his partners bought out Dame Dash's interest in the company for around $30 million. And then, like a true boss, Jay-Z turned around and sold the clothing line to Iconic's brand group for around $204 million. In 1999, Jay-Z also joined the likes of Will Smith in a $10 million investment into Carol's Daughter, a natural beauty product line started by African-American entrepreneur Lisa Price. Now, I won't get too deep into this investment since I pretty much gave a full breakdown into Carol's Daughter in another video, the one where we covered Will Smith's investments through his Dreamers Venture Capital firm. But I'll link that video up here somewhere if you want to learn more. But just to give some context, Carol's Daughter was eventually purchased by L'Oreal for $27 million in 2014. While I'm sure that the few million that Jay-Z made in this deal was just a drop in the bucket compared to his other deals, it would definitely give Jay-Z his first taste into earning money as an investor instead of as the entrepreneur that he proved to be in his previous ventures. In 2003, Jay-Z spent several $million creating a high-end sports bar in New York City, which he named the 4040 Club. Along with his partner, Juan Perez, he created a luxury aura around the club and the brand, which would attract many celebrity patrons and big spenders. Now, I'm sure that a celebrity opening a club doesn't seem like a huge deal. I mean, especially in the early 2000s, before COVID-19 was ever a thing, every rapper seemed to want to start a club at some point. But just like his record label and his clothing line, he proved that when Jay-Z does it, he does it at a much higher level than anyone else. Because while most celebrity clubs pop off for a year or two, only to fall in popularity and eventually close, the 4040 Club added tens of millions of dollars onto Jay's growing net worth. In 2005, he launched a second 4040 Club in Atlantic City and another one in Las Vegas in 2007. The one in Atlantic City closed in 2013, but by 2014, he already had 8 active locations, including those in Tokyo and Macau. There's no information available that describes just how much the 40/40 Club chain is worth at this point, but back in 2012, Forbes reported that the New York City location was earning an approximate $5 million per year. Now multiply that by 8 locations, and you can see just how profitable this venture was to Jay's portfolio. With a humongous influence over hip-hop culture and a proven business savvy, some of the world's largest brands were starting to take notice. In the early 2000s, Jay inked several licensing deals and partnerships with brands, earning him hundreds of millions of dollars. He accepted several product collaboration deals, like a deal with Reebok to produce the S. Carter sneakers, and a deal with Nokia to release a special edition of the Nokia 330 alongside the Black Album. Both of these deals happened in 2003. In 2006, he expanded his endorsements by entering into a deal with Hewlett-Packard, where he was featured in several of their commercials. Within that same year, he joined Budweiser as the co-brand director for Budweiser Select, taking a different approach than other rappers who were only promoting champagne brands. But hold on, because that doesn't mean that he didn't also dive headfirst into promoting champagne. In the late 90s and the early 2000s, he helped popularize the French champagne brand Cristal, displaying it in his music videos and penning lyrics about it in his songs. Then in 2006, Frédéric Rouzan, who is now the CEO of Cristal's parent company, went public admitting that he didn't really care for the fact that his brand had now become synonymous with hip-hop culture. And that action pissed Jay-Z off, causing him to denounce Cristal and back another champagne, Armand de Brignac, better known as Ace of Spades. When he showcased bottles of Ace of Spades in his Show Me What You Got video, the hip-hop culture took to it instantly. By 2014, it was estimated that he was earning more than $4 million per year on his promotional deals alone. And with all this money, he made a big move. He bought the entire Ace of Spades brand, which was valued at over $500 million. In 2021, he sold a 50% stake in the company to the luxury conglomerate LVMH. The terms of this deal were undisclosed, but industry insiders estimate that the deal was worth anywhere from $300 million to over $600 million. At this point, Jay-Z was already one of the most wealthy entertainers in the world, and with so much success representing rappers as the head of Roc-A-Fella, he decided to expand his conglomerate by partnering with Live Nation to launch Roc Nation in 2008. The goal of Roc Nation was to sign and promote pop and rap artists, and the first act that he signed was J. Cole, who would go on to create 5 platinum albums while winning a Grammy, a Billboard Music Award, 3 Soul Train Music Awards, and 8 BET Hip Hop Awards. Through Roc Nation, he would sign dozens of other major artists, including Rihanna, Big Sean, Christina Aguilera, DJ Khaled, Fat Joe, Jaden and Willow Smith, Lil Uzi Vert, and Robin Thicke, among others. And if taking over the entire music scene wasn't enough, he then added another leg called Roc Nation Sports, a company centered around elevating athletes' careers on and off the field. Through the company, he will represent dozens of athletes in every American sport, including the MLB, NBA, and NFL, as well as international athletes like professional soccer players and netball players. So imagine earning just a small percent from hundreds of world-class and world-renowned music artists and athletes. Then combine that with the millions of dollars in endorsements, a global sports bar chain, and you're still the top hip-hop artist in the world. That's billionaire level stuff right there. Okay, look, you don't become a billionaire by making a few deals here and there, and Jay-Z literally has dozens of deals that I could talk about, like his deal with Bing, Duracell, or PowerMat Technologies, his investment into the Broadway show Feta, his Made in America festival, his investment into the Brooklyn Knights, his deal with Douce, or even his release of a premium cigar called Commodore. But for the sake of time, I just want to talk about the stuff that really packed on his net worth. And over the last decade, there were a handful of investments and business decisions that will quickly expand the value of his brand. One of the most significant things that he did was the purchase of Tidal in 2015. Tidal was originally created by 3 Norwegian entrepreneurs and followed up behind their launch of WIMP, which was a music streaming service that's set to deliver higher quality audio than its competitors like Spotify. WIMP was a huge success, so the team decided to launch it across Europe, but they didn't want English-speaking countries calling it WIMP, so they changed the name to Tidal. The people who really cared about audio quality, well, they really loved it, but still the company struggled to stay afloat and relevant. Then Jay-Z stepped in, offering $56 million for the company, which its majority shareholder quickly accepted. But Jay had a whole different idea for it. High quality audio was only really important to a handful of audiophiles, and that really wasn't the problem that Jay-Z was interested in solving, because he knew that streaming platforms paid crumbs to the artists, and he wanted Tidal to be an artist-centric platform where those who streamed their music there earned a greater share of the pie. So he hosted a secret meeting at the Fig House in Los Angeles with a bunch of artists who were attending the Grammy Awards that weekend. Dozens of major stars attended the pitch, including Alicia Keys, Daft Punk, J. Cole, Kanye West, Madonna, Nicki Minaj, Rihanna, Usher, and several others. They were sold on the plan and committed to participating. Now, if you remember, early on in his career, he was able to win big by leveraging his likeness and popularity. But by the time he launched Tidal, he had realized that he could make an even bigger splash by leveraging the likeness of all the biggest names in music. It wouldn't be just him promoting the brand, but also every other artist who was involved in and who benefited from the success of the project. In March 2015, Tidal had a relaunch party and officially hit the market. One of the major benefits of the platform that set Tidal apart from other streaming platforms was access to exclusives from other huge artists. For example, when Rihanna's Anti album came out, Tidal had a 1-week exclusive window where its members could access it before it was available on other platforms. Following the Rihanna album, Tidal hit number 16 in the App Store. Tidal also had the exclusive to Kanye's album, The Life of Pablo, even though Kanye kinda screwed that up, leading to around 500,000 leaked copies in one single day before the album's intended launch date. And there was also the exclusive release of Beyonce's Lemonade album that was only available on Tidal. Not Spotify, not Apple Music, just Tidal. Tidal had tons of ups and downs, but ultimately Jay-Z still came out on top. In 2021, he sold 80% of Tidal in a deal with Square, worth $302 million. The other 20% remained in the hands of the other artists that signed on and owned equity in the project. Through Tidal, Jay proved that he could build and sell a startup. But next, he made other deals that proved that he could also identify high-growth tech companies early on and make a killing by investing in them. One of these investments was a tiny company that you probably never heard of. It's called Uber. Way back when Uber was still focusing on black cars, Jay-Z agreed to invest in the company. The deal was for $2 million. However, Jay saw massive potential and sent Uber's founder, Travis Kalanick, a wire for $5 million instead. But Kalanick refused and sent back the $3 million difference. I don't have to explain what happened to Uber. I mean, it's very possible that you might be riding in an Uber right now while you're watching this video, because the app single-handedly killed the taxi industry and became the main way that we access on-demand transportation. And that $2 million stake that he had, well, by 2019, his investment was worth a whopping $70 million. Realizing just how lucrative it was to invest in startups, Jay-Z founded Marcy Venture Partners in 2018, along with partners Jay Brown, who was Roc Nation's former CEO, and Larry Marcus, a former partner at Walden VC. The team closed this initial fund with $85 million, but now it manages more than $600 million in assets. Marcy Venture Partners has proven successful in investing in innovative products across numerous industries. As of today, they've invested in more than 21 companies, including Rihanna's lingerie company, Savage X Fenty, the sneaker marketplace StockX, the plant-based chicken nugget business Simulate, and Bitsky, an NFT marketplace. Jay-Z didn't become uber successful by focusing on one thing, succeeding, and then slacking off. He did it by making deal after deal, learning along the way, aligning himself with people and brands that could push his own brand forward, and moving in a way that no rapper has ever moved before. And that's one thing that startups could really learn from his story. Jay once said, "You can want success all you want, but to get it, you can't falter. You can't slip, you can't sleep. One eye open for real and forever." In other words, being motivated is not enough. If you want to be successful in anything, you have to be on top of it every day and every hour. Hard work and dedication has to be at the core of your DNA. Jay-Z is a true example of rags to riches. And if you're over 30 years old, you've probably seen his rise to becoming hip-hop's first true billionaire. However, there are other celebrity investors that are right on his financial heels, including his arch nemesis Nas, who already made hundreds of millions of dollars investing in fast growth tech startups. And if you haven't heard about how he put himself on the path to becoming hip-hop's next billionaire, well, you should check out this video right here and learn about everything that he's invested in. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our updates. We drop new videos every single week to help you launch and grow your startup, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, take care and keep creating amazing shit.